Welcome to ReConnected. This is where we listen to stories from spinal cord tumor survivors. We aim to provide connection between survivors by telling our stories. Our purpose is to increase awareness about what life is like after being diagnosed with an intramedullary spinal cord tumor. Because our diagnosis is so rare, it's hard to find information from the patient perspective. At ReConnected, we talk with people living with the diagnosis and surviving the surgery. We speak from our own experience. We do not give advice. My name is Dawn Standera. I'm a survivor of a C1, C2 intramedullary ependymoma, and that is spinal cord tumor lingo for a tumor inside my spinal cord right at the top of my spine. Today we get to hear Jess's story. Welcome, Jess.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. So when were you diagnosed and where was your tumor?
I was diagnosed on my surgery date, which was March 9th, 2021. My tumor was located in my lumbar spine at the L4 through S1 area. And it's been quite a journey these past 2 years.
Thank you for being here. One of the things that's been really important when I started this channel was that we could share perspectives of people who had cervical, thoracic, lumbar. And so you are our first lumbar patient. So
Uh,
it feels really good to me to have a more well-rounded viewpoint and to have this be included. I know that a lot of deficits that we have from surgery are according to where our tumors are. So, before you tell us a little bit about what that's like, will you tell us what your symptoms were like before you had surgery?
well, I was remote learning because it was during COVID and I was sitting a lot. I'm a very active person generally. And I was just having a lot of sciatica through my right leg. And it was really painful. My employer was very kind and set me up with appropriate chairs and monitors to help get me ergonomically correct because that's what we thought was the problem. And once that didn't work, I ended up going to PT. And they thought from just looking at me from the outside that I had a herniated disc. And being an active mom of two boys, I try and keep up with them. So it really didn't surprise me that I may have done something and was feeling that as the pain. As months of PT went on, my physical therapist, as well as the doctor that was treating me, had suspicion that because it was getting worse, that it could be something else. And that's when the MRI was ordered.
Okay, so you had the MRI and you got the news from your doctor, from the radiologist. How did you get the news?
I got the news from another doctor because that doctor had moved on to a different facility. And I had my appointment scheduled for that day. And of course, with all the COVID precautions, I was there by myself. And just kind of waiting alone in that waiting room was very intimidating, and hoping for the news that, yes, you have a herniated disc, or maybe even something less severe than that, was what I was hoping for. I was not prepared to hear that I had a tumor um, growing inside of me. It hit me like a train. And part of it was, being a wife and a mom and a daughter, was my concern was, how do I break this news to my family? Because I was in shock myself.
It's funny to me that it's only spinal cord tumor survivors who hope for herniated discs.
And even today, with certain symptoms that I have, I hope for an answer. And unfortunately, the answer is it's a result of the surgery, and getting that tumor out with the lingering symptoms. You kind of want to hear, oh, you do have a bulge disc, or oh, something happened here or there. But to get the answer that, this is a result of your surgery, and it's hard because you want the answer, and you want the answer to be something that can be fixed, like fixed
Yeah, I
permanently.
agree. Because it's kind of relentless, right? To wake up in the body every day and have the symptoms still be there.
Yeah, it is. I work very hard to be the best person I can be in this situation that I was given. I do it for my kids because I know that, I mean, granted, I hope they never have to experience what I'm experiencing. But everyone has storms in their life, and you got to push through those storms as patiently and as kind to yourself as you can be.
Mm, I love kindness to ourselves. It's easy to get down on ourselves because we're not performing at the same, from my experience, I'm not performing at the level I was before I had surgery, or before I was diagnosed. So,
Same for me.
oh, yeah. Tell us about how long you were, what was it like in the hospital? How long were you in the hospital? Did you go to rehab? What was your experience like?
I was in the hospital for 6 days, and it was very uneasy feeling because COVID was going on, and the fear of I'm in here with a spinal cord tumor being removed, and I didn't want to catch COVID on top of it. And thankfully, I didn't. But it was very hard not being able to have visitors. And, I think there was a reason for that. I think that if my husband or if my kids would have saw me, it was very traumatic. And, when I came home from the hospital, I had a walker. And I think that alone was, traumatic for the family and for myself. But you're just in a daze. A lot of my recovery, those early weeks and months, are just foggy, because you're going through so much. And a shower, you take a shower and it just knocks you out. It's like
It's so
I have
true.
wet hair, and typically I don't want to go in my bed with wet hair, but I didn't care. My body was so fatigued. I did not go to rehab. I was able to come home, and there are challenges and with that as well. I did have a nurse that came and check on me 3 days a week, and then I graduated to 2 days a week, and then I was able to go to an outpatient physical therapy. By that time, I believe it was 3 or 4 months in, I had a cane and I was able to get around pretty slowly. I did not go out anywhere except for PT. It was PT back home. Um,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
so
So you L5S1, where does your numbness, where's the top end of your numbness on your body? About at your hip
uh,
bones or
yeah,
where?
my hips are they're weak, and my legs are very numb, tingly. There are toes and that I don't feel.
Mm,
A lot of my feelings, some of it's come back in different parts of my legs. Now I deal with some spasticity that kind of rises up through the thoracic spine and into my left arm. And
mm,
I'm working on that. And just kind of, for me, the overall nerve pain, there's something horrific about nerve pain, especially if you've never experienced it before. It's
mhm.
just, and it's hard to describe to people because they look at you and they're like, they see that you're not quite yourself, like maybe you're sick or you have a headache. But what's going on inside of the body with the nerves is chaotic at sometimes. And working with my doctors to find some medications to help ease that, so I can start living life a little bit more and getting out more and enjoying those things that you take for granted when your body works like it did. To
Mm.
enjoy those things again, it's an amazing feeling to just be like, oh my gosh, I'm in a car and I'm going to get ice cream, and this is just,
Yeah.
you know it's
I remember
amazing.
somebody saying to me she had an upper cervical tumor my location, and she said to me, Dawn, someday you're gonna just run to the post office to mail a package and jump back in your car and come home, and not it's not going to be the event of the day. And at the time she told me, I thought, I can't even imagine. Like that feels so big to me, but she's right. It
Yeah.
Now I can run to the post office and mail a package and come home and maybe do something else too. Tell me, you're 2 years out?
Yes.
Okay. Can you, if you think about the last 2 years and break it into sections, well, how do you think about it? Do you think about it like year one, year two, or 6 months, 6 months, 6 months? And like, how do you think about it and what has changed? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Year one was difficult. My diagnosis, like the first MRI to my surgery to coming home and like starting that process, a lot of it's a blur. A lot of it I dealt with after the fact because I didn't have time to deal with it in the moment because I was making arrangements for my kids and my job. So that first 6 months it was really rough, and I felt very alone. I had a great support system. I would not be where I am today without that system, because it literally takes a village to,
Yeah, yeah,
get you.
indeed.
Um, and I can now see the progress of, wow, like I used a walker and now I'm able to go for a good, a short walk, but I'm trying to open up my gait, I guess they call it, and walk correctly. Um,
Mm.
so, it's been definitely a process. And I'm glad to be on this end right now. And, you know, the moving into a year and 6 months was when I started to really search ependymoma and be able to kind of accept and not be, this isn't a part of my life when it was a huge part of my life. I just wasn't ready in those beginning months. And that's when I found the CERN Foundation and I attended their Zoom meeting with a bunch of other ependymoma warriors and survivors. And that's when I feel like my healing started. And that's kind of that pinpoint, that marker of that new stage of growth. Finding that community and not being alone. And your book helped me as well.
Glad.
I was underlining things that I had, and I was like, okay, like this is normal for me right now. And it was something I could hold on to mentally to get me through those rough patches. And I'm at the stage, sitting here with you, and I can talk about it and I can share it and I can feel the healing that it brings me to look in this camera and tell somebody that they're not alone, that there are other people that struggle with the same weird sensations in their bodies, and that, you know, being together and finding each other is so important for that healing when you're ready, when you are ready for that leap. So I hope
Hmm.
that answers your question.
Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful. I I love to hear people's stories. It I can't even imagine the difference it would have made to hear them before my surgery, but I'm hearing them now after, and they do help me a lot. And I think something that we don't talk about a lot in our community, but you sort of touched on it, is we mourn our old lives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yet, we have new connections, new ways of living our life, new explorations to make. Um, Probably not the way we wanted to learn that lesson, kind of an
Yeah.
extreme lesson. But can you talk a little bit about that? How do you deal with the mourning of a body that it's still us, it's still our personalities, but we're in this container that is so different now?
I'm still learning.
Mhm.
I really am. I Oh, I used to run track. I
Mhm.
love to run and I
Mhm.
sprinted and I love to give this race that I was in 100% or more for a little bit of time. And I've realized in this journey that I have a sprinter's heart. Um, I thought that I would get to one point and I'd be done, after a year. I would be, where I want to be and this and that. And I'm realizing that this is a marathon and a sprinter trains for their sprints differently than a marathoner trains for a marathon. So I'm really learning that and just being thankful for um, having a second chance. And I do mourn my old body, probably more than I would want to. But I'm also excited for this new opportunity and this new outlook. It's like I've been given different eyes you know,
Mhm.
when I see things. I've kind of always, through this journey, the butterfly has kind of been a symbol to me. You know, it goes into this dark chrysalis and it comes out something different and it's exciting. And I'm hoping that as I press on this journey, you know, that I'll have new eyes and I'll have just a new outlook on life. And that part of it being sharing my story and helping others to just keep pressing on to see what they will become later on.
Thank you. I'd like to know, did you have a total resection?
Yes.
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah. Any radiation afterward then?
No, I had a spinal tab done, and the results were that said that there were no malignant cells in my spinal cord fluid. So I have MRIs frequently. Sometimes they were supposed to be a year, but there have been a couple of things popping, not tumors, but different issues popping up. So they've been doing 6 months just to kind of look at other things. So that's basically the treatment for me right now.
Okay. Yeah, actually today I have a visit, my annual telehealth visit with my neurosurgeon. So I'll get the good news that the tumor didn't come back after 8 years. And it's always fun to, once a year touch base and let him know how I'm doing. Um, I had a question in mind and now I kind of lost it. You know, I think pacing is something that we don't talk about enough in our community. For me, I've learned, I remember when I got discharged from the hospital, I was told to, there was a bunch of letters that started, or words that started with a letter P, pacing, pain, some other ones, but pacing was the one that really kind of stuck with me. And it's something that I've learned over the years, how to regulate my day. When I interviewed Liz, she talked about the spoon theory. You know, if you get 6 spoons, that's all you get. You don't get seven. You
Yes.
only get 6 spoons. And so, for over the years for me, I've learned I've got to do the important things, get them kind of out of the way or
Hmm.
prepare for them if they're later in the day and not overwhelm myself so that I can enjoy what I'm doing because
Hmm.
I've learned that I probably can do it, but what's the point of doing it if I'm not enjoying it? So if I don't take care of my energy and carefully monitor my pacing, I'm not going to enjoy what I'm doing. So can you talk to me about what year one was like because you talked about you took a shower and you had to lay down. I remember those days. As compared to now, how do you pace now compared to how you paced right after surgery?
Well, I know not to schedule two doctor's appointments in a day. Um, I know if I want to hang out with someone for, you know, coffee, to
Mhm.
not do my PT exercises
Hmm.
before. That too has been a learning. I've always been a yes person. I like to say yes to people, and I'm learning to say, I'm sorry, I can't, or maybe at a later, or this day works for me. Because the cost of saying yes to everything is great right now. It's days in bed, and those days are weighty because I know life is being lived while I'm laying in my bed in the dark because just sensory overload, angry nerves, just the whole shabam. So
Hmm.
I'm learning that as I go. I'm learning that people are upset because I have to say no, and they can work through their emotions that way. And you know, like this, planning this with you, I knew to regulate my energy, to lay down. Sitting has been very difficult for me.
Hmm.
Um, Sitting for 30 minutes has been a goal for PT, and I'm getting close to that, and not and being pain free. Um, so I'm really learning this new body and you know how
What's
it
the
works.
challenge of sitting, Jess? What's the challenge?
Um, I have a lot of neurotension, they call it, in my
Yep.
left leg,
Right.
and spasticity, and it's just very painful. and everything gets really tight. And I also get that same feeling radiating into my lumbar spine. Um, it can feel like a, just tight along my ribs, and it really flares pain if I sit too long. So
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But I wonder if sitting hasn't been a challenge for me, and I'm wondering if sitting is more of a challenge for people who have had lumbar tumors.
maybe, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I've recently met one individual who
Okay.
has had a similar area, and you dive into these conversations at an appropriate pace. So, we're just kind of asking questions and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I know that everybody's body is different. And, I may, if I look back, I may have, when I first came home from the hospital, maybe I forced myself to sit too long. I don't know.
Mhm.
This whole body is just different. And, I'm learning it and trying to accept it and just live life in it because it's the only one I got. So,
I have often noticed that when I tell somebody, and I'm careful about who I tell, nobody really is that interested in how I feel, but my husband or my parents, and I'll say, I'm having a rough day. It seems that their knee-jerk reaction is often, well, you must have done this.
mhm.
And I will always say, I gave up the cause and effect discussion a long time ago. It can't be done. I can't figure it out. I can't. Some
And
days
I'm
I can do
there.
this and I'm fine, and other days I can do that and I'm a wreck. So I kind of have left that by the wayside now. And I love that you spoke about the days where you're laying in bed in the dark because the nerves are angry and the body's tired and the nervous system is just sensory overload, because I still have them, not as frequently, and I don't have to lay down as long. But, every now and again, I'm like, I'm going to be down for the day. I am
Hmm.
overloaded. And I think it's not the hopeful, lovely, bright message, that we are wont to tell, but it's a part of I think everybody's life that have had these. And I think it's really important. And thank you for talking about that. Because what happens what's your experience after you've had a day of rest versus if you push through?
I'm better. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not like pop in and run in, I can get out, and usually when my family sees me out on the couch, they know that things have simmered down and I
Mhm.
want to be around people. I want to be around my family. And so that they know that that's kind of the signal. Mom's out on the couch. She's able to kind of be around the stimuli and kind of be a part of it again. So, and it's a good feeling for me. I don't like to miss out. I feel like I missed out on a lot these past couple of years, and I like to be
Fear
a
of
part
missing
of
out
things.
is a real part of this life, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wanting to do so many more things than we're able to do, but also
And
wanting to
it's hard
enjoy
for
them.
others to understand too, and it's understandable. And that's why what you're doing is amazing. It helps us. It's another voice. It's not just one person saying something. It's that echo. And even though it's a little bit different for everybody, it still helps. My husband is learning. He's been great at taking care of me and my boys too. And my parents are starting to understand this different language that I use, like flares and stuff like that, which I've just learned too. So it's nice
Mhm.
to educate people. Makes you feel more human when they can understand what's going on with you.
Yeah, it reminds me there's a Bible verse of the prophet hath no honor in his hometown. And it's like I can talk about what I'm feeling like, but suddenly everybody believes it when they hear other people say, "Oh, you're not the only one who can't get out of bed some days or is really pooped out all the time." Uh, well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story. I do want to mention, I know that you're very involved with the CERN Foundation, and thank you for that. For those who might not know, the CERN Foundation is the Collaborative Ependymoma Research Network. And Kim Walgren is the director there, and she's amazing. has a real heart for people with spinal cord tumors. And I think if you look up their website, there's a phone number or email to contact for assistance. And then also, I know that you're involved with Walk Talk Connect. And
Yes.
yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to them. They are a Minneapolis-based nonprofit, and Kathy did an interview on this channel, so you can see Kathy's interview. Are you going to be at the event in August by any chance, or
I
any
would
idea?
love to. I would love to. However, my body is just not ready to travel and do all that. So I am gonna sit this one out physically. We'll be there in spirit, and it is definitely a goal of mine to
Mm.
fly down and just see the faces, and to walk and to talk and have that experience. So it's definitely a big goal of mine to get down there.
Cool. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for being a good model for us on, you know what, I'm not ready, and we'll make it a goal. That's big grown up stuff. And then I did want to give just another reference to this. This is being actually recorded on May 18th of 2023, and the walktalkconnect.org 5K event for gathering people with brain and spinal cord tumors is on August 20th of 2023. So on their website, you can jump on to join in. Um, Jess, what a privilege it is to hear your story today. And I love your attitude and the modeling of, maturity and optimism and realistic, story of what your life has been like since having surgery. I really appreciate you being a part of the solution. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. And, you never think that life is going to hit you with a train like this. And when it does, there's all these phases you go through. And I'm not like this every day. But if you want me to compare back to last year, I'm having a lot more days like this with this attitude than oh my goodness, this is so hard. I can't do this. How am I ever gonna, whatever that is. I'm starting to see that I can get there. It's just going to take me a little slower, maybe a little longer. So thank you for all that you're doing with this YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, great. Okay. Well, we'll check back with you in about a year.
Sounds great.
Okay, great. Thanks again.
Bye.